Kia ora, I'm Kristian with Good Sorts Property Services, and this is episode 3 of our still yet to be named podcast. And I'm joined by my guest here, Brad McNaughton. But let's just start with Brad McNaughton's Starbucks order. What do we got here this morning?
Well, first, thanks for having me on your podcast here for episode 3. I don't know why I didn't get episode 1, but I got what is this thing even called? It's a refresher, strawberry acai lemonade, but no lemonade. So I don't have the sugar.
There's a few words on that order then, eh?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I order a large, but apparently it's venti, which I found out. So
okay.
We've got to be very specific in the size because I don't want the small one. I want the big one.
And how many pumps of sugar has that got?
I think it's water and strawberries for flavor. I took the lemonade out because I'm a healthy individual.
Well, you are looking good.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah. So you're on a bit of a routine now, yeah?
I'm definitely on a routine, trying to get in a little bit better shape in life and extend my living on this earth.
Longevity.
Yeah, longevity, yeah.
Yeah.
So people can keep dealing with my sparkling attitude.
Maybe it's the tan too, eh? We're enjoying some nice summer rays.
That's why we live here in the Okanagan.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little, we've known each other for a little while now. Probably go back to one of our networking groups here, but tell us a bit about the story of Brad McNaughton and how Lux Homes came to be.
Really, it just kind of came out of, I've always wanted to own my own business. So I kind of was making steps in life to learn as much as I could from other companies that I had worked for in the past to start my own business. And then in, I think, 2016, I quit my job that I had and started renovating a house. I just had people kind of knocking on my door. And I was like, you know what? Now is probably the time to kind of start my business. And that's kind of how I got my start with it, right? Started trying to find a niche and figure out where I was going to fit in all this. I thought right from the beginning, I'll just get phone calls left, right, and center. I'll be building massive homes on the lake here in the Okanagan. Didn't quite work that way, but that's kind of how I got my start. Kind of then quickly realized that I didn't know how to run a business at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that I had to really also learn how to do to make the business sustainable and successful and be able to offer something different for my clients.
Mm-hmm. And that's a tough transition to make too, from being a technician to a business owner. There's a really good book by Michael Gerber about the sort of e-myth of moving from, I guess, being the baker to the bakery owner. And that's a real mindset shift and a completely different muscle to be sort of working and exercising. But before we kind of get into that, how do you even land in construction in the first place? How did that come to be?
I kind of always liked working with wood and stuff. Growing up on the farm, there was different things we got to kind of do, like tasks and chores and things. And I really enjoyed woodworking in school. My dad is a millwright by trade. So I think he kind of was talking about doing that for a bit. I wanted to kind of forge my own path. I know my brother, he became a millwright. He's pretty successful at it as well. And I just wanted to do my own thing, right? So that's kind of how I rolled into it. And then when I was playing hockey, I was doing my apprenticeship at the same time because I was clearly no good at hockey. I was not going to get my NHL career out of it, right? Which, some days sometimes I'm out in the garage shooting with my kid and I could do this, right? I don't know why the Canucks aren't hiring me, right? We can get that first overall pick again. But that's just kind of how I rolled into it, right? My hockey billet got me into a trades transition program after I graduated. So I got a lot of learning and then a job after, and I really, really enjoyed it. I got a work ethic from the farm, and I had some really good mentors kind of along the way to ask me questions where I want to be, point out tips for me, things I could learn. And I just thought there's just so much that kind of piqued my mind that in construction you can learn. There's so many different paths you could go down being a carpenter. And at the time, a lot of job sites were ran by carpenters. They were the site supers on these jobs. And now you've got construction managers and people have gone to school to do some of these big projects. But that was one thing that really interested me, was doing stuff like that, kind of like that arc to kind of grow to the top, right? So, and then I don't know, I was probably about 21 or 22 working for a company. And I was just talking to the owner, how'd you get started? And he's just I just started it. And that's when my mindset kind of shifted. That was kind of one of my goals, right? So,
and I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that fire and that drive. It's kind of this, call it healthy, call it unhealthy, dissatisfaction with the status quo, with the same. Where do you think in your upbringing or along the way, where does that originate from? Where is that motivation to keep pursuing, to keep pushing for that next level, that next thing, from young Brad to running a really successful custom home
I
shop?
think it's unhealthy some days being an entrepreneur and wanting to keep growing or doing things right. But I definitely would say is looking at my parents' farm and my dad's way of doing like trying different things and being innovative within an industry that had been the same for a long time. And like going back, like, that was in the 90s, right? So I don't want to date myself here, but I am 41, born in 1985. What a great year. But, he, at one point we had the highest pigs born per sow in Canada. I think he'd have to correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe he'll watch this. It was for PIC at the time. I don't know if they're still in business, but that's where he got some of the pigs from for the breeding purposes, right? So they don't all get inbred or whatever. But they were very caring on the farm and keeping an eye on the animals and stuff. And then when the farm started to expand, he was looking at different ways of doing stuff, to cut costs, I would believe now that I kind of know how to understand a business. But doing Quonset huts, so the pigs were outside, they're healthier, they didn't have as many scratches on them. And then when pork prices weren't doing well, he ended up, because our pigs were healthier and didn't have as many scratches on them, he will find a niche market to sell these pigs to and, keep the farm afloat and profitable, right? So, he was always kind of thinking about stuff like that. Maybe that's from his background growing up or his trade as a millwright, but always kind of that problem solving and kind of thinking and planning, right? So,
And that pig farm was right throughout your childhood?
Yeah, until I left to play hockey. I don't know when they sold it. I might have been 20 or 21 when they sold it, when they wanted to slow down a bit and they got a hobby farm and then eventually got rid of that and moved up here.
Yeah.
And now they're down in Mexico.
And what about your siblings? Your trajectory, you've obviously gone on to be a business owner. You're saying that your brother's a millwright by trade or a carpenter by trade.
Millwright, yeah.
What do you think about your childhood and your siblings and their experience growing up and sort of the different places that they land?
Well, they're all hard workers. Like I look at my brother Scott, he works up in Fort McMurray, and he's got his own business up there as well, right? He works as a subcontractor for one of the oil and gas companies, but also he's learned to maximize his land that he has here in the Okanagan. He's got an egg business with chickens and stuff. And so we all have that work ethic where we can't really sit and relax, right? Like we've got something else going on. Then I look at my other brother who's up in Grand Prairie. He's got his own electrical business up there as well. So we all kind of have that work ethic where we just will put the time in and keep going and going. Like getting a hold of my one brother, James, in Grand Prairie is next to impossible sometimes because he's working or he's without cell service or whatever, right? Yeah, we all have families, we all provide for them. And we try to, have the best life for our families and everybody else around us that we can, right? Then my sister, she's a nurse in Rossland in the ER. She's got a nice little family going on there, living her life. But, being a nurse is not shouldn't say it's not a great job. It's a thankless job sometimes, right? Like I look, my mother-in-law, she was a nurse for, I don't know how long, but she retired probably 5 or 6 years ago. And they're all hard workers. So that's kind of in our DNA, right? So
that's really interesting. And particularly the ER, it's obviously a very stressful environment. Everything's acute. Yeah. Lots of pressure in that environment.
100%.
And I think the kind of common thread is like this stress sort of cycle, right? Of this, my therapist, shout out therapist, would call it questing, never resting.
Yeah.
It's always this sort of want or desire, this dissatisfaction with where things are at. How do you find it going on vacation these days now?
I mean, because
and versus back in the day when you first got in business.
It's way different. Like I honestly believe now if I was to take a 2-month vacation, my business would probably run the way it would run. And it would still continue.
Holy grail.
Yeah, it'd still continue to be fine. Like when I first went on vacation, it was a nightmare. I remember a specific trip to Mexico where I almost came back like after 2 days. It was going sideways. And you think you have things kind of set up, but they're not, right? And decisions. So I know when I hired Brody 5 or 6 years ago, he kept coming and asking questions. And one day I remember, I still laugh sometimes when he comes through the door. I call him the Kool-Aid man because he just kind of bursts in. And he rolled in there asking a question. I just looked at him, and I've known Brody from our hockey days, so I've got a good relationship with him too. I said, I pay you to make decisions. Make your decisions. He turned around and left. Right. And from that day forward, like if there's a big decision or something they don't know about now, we'll sit and we'll kind of talk about it. But at the end of the day, the decision's on the people that I hire to make those decisions. That's how they're going to grow and they can take ownership of that. Otherwise, I'm just essentially micromanaging. and I don't want to micromanage, right? Like I'm not on job sites every day. I'm running a business. And our clients also get to understand that too, that I have the trust in these people to do their project. And if I'm on site every day building your house, I don't have a business, I have a job. And that's not what our clients want, because I'm not going to be there to support them in 2 or 3 years if they have an issue, or 10 years down the road, right? So my goal is to have everybody own their positions that they're in, be the best that they can, and just work with them through all that stuff, right? So, and it goes back to like, even when I was a carpenter, I always wanted to know what I was doing the next day to read up on it. This was kind of before YouTube and all the information on the internet, but I have books, tons of books. And I always want to know so that the next day I could come in and ask intelligent questions or know what I'm doing, right? So, and I had the runway to make a ton of mistakes. My bosses trusted me and seen something in me, so they let me do that stuff. Like I remember one time, my first little project I got as a second year apprentice was laying out for these footings on this big industrial site, and I was working with an excavator, and I had the excavator dig this thing perfect, but I didn't think to give any working room for me after as a carpenter coming in. So I dug it exactly, I can't remember, it was 3 meters by 3 meter boxes or whatever, dug it perfectly the size that it needed to be, and I couldn't put the formwork in. So I remember Rick just kind of, they all knew, they seen what was happening, they let it go, and then the next morning or 2 mornings later, I come in for our meeting every morning, and they just kind of threw me a shovel in front of everybody and said, go dig. So I never made that mistake again, right? So that's kind of the way I kind of want to do it, but maybe not have them go dig holes anymore, because nobody wants to do that if there's a piece of equipment there, right? But yeah, so that's kind of how I learned too. And that's kind of, I think my whole process with people is let them excel at their jobs, right?
And is that by design, or is that by I guess my question, because I think a lot of business owners struggle with this, right? Particularly when you're in that sort of swamp, as Hormozi might say, sort of that early stage revenue, you struggle with trying to get unstuck from your own business. Do you think that the ownership that your team have in the office and on the front line, people swinging hammers, do you think that comes from your hiring practices, your processes, both? What do you think has been the most impactful for you to go away for 2 months and have a vacation and your business is still on track?
Well, I haven't been away for 2 months yet, but that's a goal for me, right? So like, I don't want to keep doing this forever and like going to work day to day. I'd like to take extended vacations as I get older and my kids get older, right? But yeah, no, I definitely think it's like, as your business grows, you kind of figure out what works, and back to your own roots too, right? Like trying to figure things out, and every business has their own culture, right? And when I hire people, I'm looking for people that don't want to be micromanaged. If I have to do your job, and I tell people this, if I have to do your job, I don't need you, right? So I'm not expecting you to come in on day one and know how to do everything, but I want you to go through our systems and our process that we have, identify anything that you might not understand or where there might be gaps in them, because then we can fix that. But like, just because you do processes once doesn't mean they are done, right? Like you got to continually look at them. So you got to find the right people who want to continually do that stuff too, and also look for ways to make your business more efficient, I find too, right? So yeah, it's just a specific person that we're kind of looking for, right? And through some of my coaching now, I've learned a different way to hire people as well, right? I now hire, you put an ad out, you do the interviews, then you give them a paid test on that specific role. And then also, one way I test people is I say I want 2 60-second videos. They don't have to be polished at all, shot on your phone or whatever device you have, of what you think the role is going to entail, what you think my company values are, because everybody gets my company value sheet. So it's a way to test people to see if they've got that. And then just a bit about them. And I give them a time limit, whether it's at 60 seconds, 45 seconds. And I see if they can listen to those instructions. If a video comes in at 55 seconds or 50 seconds, they're no good for me, because they didn't listen to the instructions or understand them and ask another question. Right. So that's one thing that's changed. And I got that through my coach, Felipe, at the Versa method there. And I think that's been a really big thing. And then, if I'm hiring a role, like let's say Brody, it gets promoted, right? And I need somebody to take his position now. It would be his job to find that replacement, right? I'd still be sitting there, but he'd be coming up with kind of the job description and finding somebody that checks, like an avatar for him, check 95% of those boxes. Because when I hired Brody, he checked those boxes with me as well, right? So that what's made us successful is the people within the business as well, right? Because we're very client focused. relationship driven. Like we're not just selling a chocolate bar at a corner store where you're just going to pop in, say hi, swipe your card, right? We've got a long pre-construction process for what we build now. We have a long build time, and then we have our warranty period as well, right? So it's that service level and that
long relationships.
Yeah, it's very like not weddings. Marriages don't last as long as our relationships with clients potentially, right? So it's kind of that whole experience they're going to get as the business grows. You got to hire the right people that talk to the people, especially if they're referral. They're getting the same type of service and everything throughout the process with us, right? So it just gives everybody that ownership within the business as well, too. I think, right? So because every role is important, right? I always say there's like a lot of seats on the bus, and some people just aren't meant to, run a business or be in a GM role or a project coordinator, project manager, right? Some people are destined to be the best carpenter they can be in life. That's what they want to do. That's what they enjoy. So I don't force people to say, this is what you're going to grow to. If you want it to, there's a lot of seats on our bus as we grow, right? So.
And I think spotting that talent is one thing, but I think what separates, I guess, your B players or C players, like get rid of your C players, but your B players from your A players are the people that are actually operating at that level already, at a director level, at a VP level, and are able to find the folks or craft the role so that they can make themselves redundant, so that they can kind of get themselves unstuck and move into that next position.
Yeah. I think redundant, like it also comes with my work and my leads too, right? As I need to grow, I'd rather hire somebody from within than hire from outside, because we do have a specific culture in our business, and it's tough to bring people in who don't fit that culture because they can spread like wildfire and just ruin everything, right? So, a few years ago we had that in the office, and like I didn't even want to come to my office, right? And so it was an easy decision to make, to let that person go. And then right away is like everybody was able to breathe again, right? So if you train people within, or even bringing them from the field, if they want that ambition to grow into there, that we all know what we're going to be kind of getting, right? So
but also skills in one role, if someone's excelling, and then generally those are the ones that get selected for the next spot or the next position, but they don't always, what makes a great salesperson doesn't make necessarily a great sales manager, for example. So I think having that eye for being able to spot talent, but also tempering that a little bit as well, because we find that when you do it incorrectly, you bring someone up that's a terrific salesperson, they become a sales manager, and now they're responsible for leading others. Well, that's tricky.
Yeah, I've got a specific way that I'm doing that now as the company's growing. So with like my quarterly planning, my yearly planning, I'm identifying those roles, even like 3, 4, 5 years out, where I think my business is going to be based off revenue projections and stuff. And then my quarterly planning, my yearly planning, I start to identify who I think in the office can take that on. And then that would be one of their rocks that I would sit down and I work with them on that, and they can shadow. And like we have a weekly meeting. We're going through this right now with Brody, transitioning up to another role. And, like one of the tests that I did with Brody first was like, this is when I want you in the role by, and this is what you have to do. And I knew it was too ambitious, but I wanted to, again, because it's going to be more decisions in that role, test his decision making on that and see if he understood the scope of it. And he immediately said, oh, well, not immediately. He took a week, because I said, I want to talk to you in a week. Here's everything. Here's what the description is going to be. Here's what you're going to be doing. He took a week and said, hey, like I can't, if you want it done by this date, it's not going to happen. I said, that was the answer I'm looking for. When do you think you could have it done by? When do you think you'd be ready? And we sat down, we talked about that. And then now our plan's based off of that, right? So, identifying the people early and making it part of your plan, right? So I think one thing I've learned is not growing too fast, but having a plan, because if you grow too fast, then you're taking 10 steps backwards, right? So that's one thing that I've kind of learned over the years.
And have there been moments where you've had to pump the brakes in your own business?
Oh, yeah. Multiple times, because I got a thick skull and don't learn from my own mistakes sometimes, right? But, again, I didn't go to business school at all. I graduated from high school, did my trade. They don't teach you business and trade school. I think maybe 4th year, there's a little thing about you could be a business owner. And, the times have changed since then, how complex businesses are and everything nowadays. But I had to go work with coaches to figure all that out, right? Like even when we were talking earlier, like if I'm on the tools or running a business, what am I, right? Like Clint told me to go throw my tool belt out. So I went brand new tool belt, Occidental, $400 or whatever it was at the time, $350. Brand spanking new. I think I put it on like 2 times, and I went to the Kelowna landfill and threw it out.
Tossed it. Mm-hmm.
And that's when the decision was made to not do that stuff anymore, right? So focus on systems, processes, understanding your numbers, things like that. Because just because the market says I can charge 12% markup or 15 or 45 or 12 doesn't mean that's what I need for my business to run, because it depends on the service levels and all your overhead in there, right? So if I'm charging, I drive around town and see this guy charging 7% markup on his signs. I'm like, how is that even possible to run a business, right? Like, if I look at my overhead, I'd be losing money to build your house. So by the end of it, you're giving me money and I'm just going to be bankrupt. So I've now taken your money. You don't have what you want. It's going to cost you more money, right? So, and it gives me time to work on my niche of what I want to do and serve the certain type of client that we want to serve and their fears of building. Because there's so many fears from people, right? So many, it's an unregulated industry. I know home building, they say you have to have a builder's license, but people share builder's licenses all the time. They have no experience in building. They don't have a trade background at all. And I think sometimes that can be a red flag for people, right? So just because you're an accountant running a home building business doesn't mean you have the skills or the knowledge to build a business, right? But you're able to still do it, right? So
well, I think your comment to your trade schools isn't, these bursaries and things that don't teach you business skills. I think the same could be true for business schools. Don't teach people business skills. The amount of knowledge that I walked out, I could tell you all about Adam Smith and economics and all the, the be and all and end all around organizational management.
Yeah.
But does that really actually have impact in my small janitorial business and some of the challenges that you come up across?
Well, don't you have like 40 people in your business?
Yeah, we're at 57 now. So
that's not small. I think the government account was that a large. I don't know.
SME.
It's a medium-sized business. Isn't it 40 people or something?
Yeah, it's small to medium. We'll call it.
Yeah. I mean, you've grown a ton over the years that I've known you too, right? I think you came in when I first met you, only a few people, a mop and a bucket, right? So,
yeah, and I was out there doing it. Swinging the mops and getting out there and getting messy.
Yeah.
But to your point around putting that tool belt away, that's a real. I
think in your case, though, wouldn't it be put away cleaning the McDonald's bathroom?
Yeah,
in the hazmat suit.
That's a different story.
You gotta put in the comments, ask him about that one. That was a phenomenal story. So
not afraid.
Business owners go through everything, right? So
I think that's really important from a sales standpoint too. When you're having conversations with customers, is that you're not afraid of the work, and getting out there and doing the icky stuff. Something we've got in our business is what we call the white glove moment.
Yeah.
And it's something that I learned from a sales guy, actually, was we've white labeled it and called it our own thing, call it the white glove moment that happens on our sales consultations. But the concept came from a handyman business that was in New Zealand, and it was called the shovel moment. They noticed that in their network of 50 different franchisees that there was one guy that was outperforming the rest. And gosh, what's he doing? How is he able to close more deals than all of our other franchisees? And something that he did on every single job, before he knocked on the door to speak to a client or a prospect, he would take his shovel out of the back of his ute and he'd put a big stab in the grass on the front lawn. He'd lift up the soil, he'd rub it between his hands, and then he would go to the front door. Meanwhile, the client's outside the kitchen window going, what the heck is this guy doing on my front lawn? But what happened was it already established himself as being an expert in the room, even though the job had nothing to do with the soil that he was lifting up and having a look through and passing through his fingers. What it kind of developed for a client was that no one of these other trades did that when they came and did my quote. So what has he got what does he know that none of these other trades know?
Yeah.
And that was his secret to converting more quotes. And so the way we've done that in our business is the white glove moment. And that's the owner getting on his hands and knees. There's some videos of us online, getting the toilet brush out and having a look at it, getting on our hands and knees and wiping with a white glove. I don't wear gloves, the back of a toilet.
Yeah.
So
that's disgusting.
And I wash my hands after it. But, those are the things I think that sort of set yourself apart from the competition, to so give that client or someone that's looking at your business that confidence that, I picked the right guy because he knows what he's looking for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, for sure. I think that goes a long way with people, right? So I think you got to have like a personal brand with clients as well, right? So they get to kind of know you. Like I've got a unique way I look at stuff and I kind of communicate and talk. Like I believe that you should have fun when building. It shouldn't be a stressful experience. So we try to do that all through the pre-construction process. You got to be trustworthy with people as well. You got to have some knowledge behind it. But I always say like there's a client for every builder and there's a builder for every client. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and every potential client's not my cup of tea either, right? So I think that's unique the way that you do that white glove as well, like kind of walking in there and showing the people. Like that kind of separates you as well, right? That you're actually looking at the stuff when you kind of go through it, right? So
speaking about what separates, businesses from, the rest, something that you've really leaned into is sort of this cost plus versus fixed price, which is kind of the this or that sort of conversation or approach to home building. Tell us a little bit about that and your philosophy around that.
Well, my philosophy is simple. I think if you have a thorough pre-construction process, you can give somebody a fixed price. You can fix that price throughout the entire project as well, because really what you're doing is you're committing to prices that are today's dollars, even though knowing that project's gonna be done 2 years down the road. So you have to give people, if they ask for it, when you're quoting, do you need a deposit to secure these prices? You have to have solid agreements with contractors. The deposits need to be tied to materials so that if that company goes under, you have access to those products. And just kind of things like that. We do put on there a 1% error margin as well. And that kind of covers anything that's a consumable or is tied to the market for inflation and stuff like that. But everything's just kind of locked in there. And it gives the client the actual ability to know what their house is going to cost. Doesn't mean they can't make changes. People are always like in the comments, oh, we're going to hammer them on change orders or allowances. I'm like, well, we don't really work with allowances at all because we plan everything out. We've kept data from 2017 when I started. I was very detailed in my data. So we have all these line items in our spreadsheets, just not spreadsheets. Our project management software just keeps getting bigger and bigger that we use from we tackle something new. And that's just kind of how we're able to do it. Some people think cost plus is the best way to go about it. We still do some cost plus jobs for our clients. Typically they're oil and gas clients because that's what they're used to. But our process is still kind of the same. So they know they're going to spend. And as we move up with more clients in that different bracket of homes we're building, the $5 million, $6 million, we've got leads for $10 and $12 million projects now. It also goes into their financial planning because they get an accurate schedule built off of all this stuff. Because we'll ask our trade partners how long to do this section of work. So we build an accurate schedule. So then they can go to their accountant or their financial advisor or the bank if they want to say, these are what I need my draws at, right? Here's typically what I'm going to need. And they can make that plan for taxes and everything else, right? So it kind of works both ways versus cost plus. A lot what I see, and I'm not saying that everybody's like this, it's just kind of a budget with allowances in it. And it's always, well, the homeowner went over and chose something different. So when we do cost plus, we still do our pre-construction process with a real number and a finish in there. And the client knows what they could get what they wanted at that price. So if they go over, it's going to cost them more. If they go under, they save money. We've had fixed price where the clients have changed stuff too, and we've cut them a check back.
Right.
The one we're finishing up next week, we're actually cutting them a check back for, I don't know, not much, like $20,000 or something, right? But that's just kind of how it works. The reason I went to fixed price was the second house I ever built in Kelowna, nice area off Lakeshore, Braylock Road. The client called me about a year and a bit later and said, I can't afford to live here anymore. She was retired. And she goes, I don't want to keep pulling money out of my investments to keep paying the mortgage. She ended up getting a mortgage on it. And she goes, I don't want to do that anymore. So she sold it. And she goes, like, I met her for coffee after we talked about it. And I was like, what did I do wrong? She said, you didn't do anything wrong. She goes, we went in with a budget. And she goes, I kept adding and adding and adding. And you kept telling me it's going to be more and more and more. But I didn't really realize the full implications of doing that. Right. So that's kind of when I was like, there's a better way to do this. And I was like, if I talk to my trade partners and they give me a fixed price to do stuff and I have a detailed scope of work, why can't I scope out an entire home? Right. And so, I've got a plan on homes that I kind of move into. So you're learning more and figuring that stuff out. And like, we look back, we talk about issues that we had on site and kind of go from there and make sure that we know how to fix them for next time. So we're more efficient and just kind of things like that as well. Right. So.
And I think in that process too, by going down that route, I mean, clients could probably look at that in two different ways, right? And you will have the clients that are hell bent on the cost plus approach. But the customers that see a fixed price approach, in my view at least, is that, well, this business is robust enough in that they have figured this out, they've done a lot of these, that they have enough confidence in their ability and their process that they're going to land somewhere where I'm not going to be wearing the overages or all the mistakes and errors that can happen in a, because it's the real world and we don't live in a vacuum and things happen.
Yeah.
But that a client can have confidence. I think too, from they say that it's probably one of the most stressful things that you can go through is building a home. Is a marriage breaker. Having that confidence going into signing a pre-construction agreement that what the dollar figure is at the end of the road. I think that says a lot about all of the work that goes into actually delivering the final product.
We spend a ton of time on it, right? We're at 90% of the meetings with the designers and the architects, trying to keep people in their budgets and making sure they know ahead of time if they're going to go over budget. And then you get this document, it's got the renderings, it's got the elevations, it's got all the interior design, it's got the engineering, the geo reports, your finalized plans. It's all there in a package and it's all actually a contract. And there's no allowances in there other than excavation because sometimes we don't know what we're going to hit underneath the ground. But again, we don't just throw a number at it. We have a number there and we say, this is what in a perfect world, this is what it's going to end up at. We built a house on this side of the lake or on the lake, and this is what we ran into over here. So here's what, if we run into those issues like underground water issues or rock, here's roughly what that might cost you as well to do. So can you afford that? Or do you want to cut back on some of this other stuff as well? So it just kind of, it's that trust factor people have with you, right? We're not gouging people, right? We shoot for like 8 to 10% profit on it. And that's just kind of how we do it. And that's what a business needs to be in our industry, profitable and be around for a long time, right? So,
and so 2017 and now fast forward, we're in 2026. What does your client look like back in 2017 versus your client today? And how are you attracting that, $5-6+ million home build client?
The clients have definitely changed. The budgets and what they want to build have changed. My first house I ever built on Springfield was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with a crawl space on it. I think it was like 1,600 square feet. Great guy, but it had vinyl siding and stuff but that's not what we build anymore, right? So it was always kind of like having a stepping stone, kind of moving up, right? And then I was kind of in a lull for a bit. I was content with what I was doing, and then I kind of got challenged by my coaches to move up to another level and not just be content with what you were doing. And that's when it kind of changed, and I started working on like a personal brand as well for people to kind of get to know me a bit better. And talking about what we do a bit more because everybody's in the construction industry is very closed off, I find. So now I get a lot of people every week reaching out to me on Instagram or Facebook or sending me messages now wanting me to talk to them about my process and how we do stuff like contractors and, mentor them or coach them. And so, that's something that I'm thinking about one day, maybe becoming a coach or whatever as well. But that's far down the road. But yeah, now our clients are, I just want to deal with a lot of like entrepreneurs and executives because I'm an entrepreneur. I get that. That I'm too busy to do stuff. I'm there to solve your problem. Your problem is maybe you don't think it's a problem. It's building a house, but you don't know how to do it. Or maybe you do and you don't have the time to do it, right? So that's where we kind of come in and they understand that communication process, how much communication they want to have. Executives get it too. They're busy. They deal with high level stuff. They want their updates. They want to know things are getting done properly. The weekly updates, communication through our project management software all the time. And it's just kind of taking care of like we offer a white glove service. Like we'll take care of everything for you. You want to fly into Kelowna, we'll book your flights if you want. So you don't have to stress about that. We'll pick you up from the airport, take you to site, like whatever you want, right? Like, you want to come for a day on the lake. I've got a boat. I'll take you out surfing or whatever you want, right? To get that experience if you don't live in town or whatever, right? So get people excited for their thing. So that's kind of where we've kind of moved to now, right? So, but we also don't sacrifice our quality at all at not behind the walls, not what you're going to see. We vet our trades that we use. We continually use them because they know how our process works. They know they can't just give us a low budget, get the job, and then gouge us with change orders later on because our scope of work is very detailed. And then we also work with them to make sure that what we want to do actually fits what is being designed for the house as well, right? So, because, you can get a quote 4 or 5 or 6 quotes for things, and everyone's vastly different. And, is it worth the gamble to go with somebody new that you don't know or new business? Probably not. You got to really vet those people out and maybe try them on something else first before you get into some of these other homes, right? So that's kind of, in a nutshell.
Well, it's a minefield. So, a lot of folks here in the Okanagan, I know, complain or whinge about how long it takes for trades to get back to them. I think there's a real trust barrier in, handing a check over to a trade to go and deliver a project for you. What's your vetting process look like for a trade that, wants to work with Lux Homes?
Well, a lot of it, I don't know, I've had a lot of my trades for a long time, so we kind of grew up together. But they've got good values, I find, right? So that's when you get to know the people, they care about quality and honesty, right? So those are big things for me. But if we have a new trade come in, I'll kind of check out their website and their social media presence. I always ask them what they charge. And they're always like, we're not the cheapest. And I'm like, why are you not the cheapest, right? And just try and figure out why they say that type of stuff. If you just say, I'm going to charge $80 an hour, and it's like, why? It's, well, because that's what everybody else charges. I'm like, you're not the guy for me because you don't know how to run a business, right? Like, I'll ask them, like, do you have marketing? Do you have a bookkeeper? Like, how do you keep all your stuff current? Then I check WCB, see if you're current on your WCB stuff. I'll ask for your business insurance as well to see what you're kind of covered for. Because, we have 5 million liability, and on some of our other projects, it's going to be going up to more liability as well. So I want to make sure that you have not $200,000 for your scope of work, but if you're working on our projects, you have to be able to put our name on your insurance, that if you go under, we can, and there's a mistake, we can still call your insurance company where it doesn't affect us or our client's project as well, right? So I look for real businesses is what I'm looking for now on projects, right? So people that are established, have systems and processes kind of there. Can you handle our payment terms, right? So, it takes us a bit when the invoice comes in to be able to get it through our system, make sure the work's completed, and then you get paid that 30 days later or whatever. So can you handle that? Or are you a guy that needs to be paid every Friday or every Monday or every Wednesday? And what's your accuracy in your scheduling, right? Like, we'll ask them, like, how long do you think it'll take to do this job? If they say 3 days and we know historically it's taken 10, they're just throwing out a number there. So they're not going to bid it properly, or they're just telling us what we want to hear type thing, right? So yeah, that's kind of how we look for new trades as well, right? So
yeah, totally.
And it also goes back to how we vet clients, and I hope clients vet us as well, right? Like I call it, like, I didn't do Tinder. Like, my wife, we met a long time ago, so it's my Tinder process now, right? You may have a coffee with them and kind of go through that whole process. It's the same thing for trades too, right? Because we're all attached to each other for so long. Just because I built the house doesn't mean that the guy doing the plumbing isn't going to be there in 5 or 6 years to come back and fix that mistake. Or if something happened to break, clients have a party or friends over and somebody breaks something, we want to go back and fix it. I want to know the guy that did the work. He'll go back and knows what's going on as well, right? So,
and I'm sure this happens a lot, but you have homeowners that maybe have their own group of trades that maybe they've worked with in the past. You say you work with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. Like myself, I work with trades on a daily, and if I'm getting my home built with Lux Homes, maybe I want to use my drywaller, or I want to use my plumber. What do you say to that client? We
will talk to them. The one house we're finishing right now, the client had some friends that they wanted to use for electrical. Turns out it's a great contact for us for down in Osoyoos there. But we'll go through the same type of process, right? Like vetting them, reaching out to people, looking at their website, check their price. Do they follow our scope of work? Can they kind of go through that whole thing? Typically, it's a no from us. Because we've just run into issues in the past with it, right? So they'll say that they can give their client or their friend a better deal. Usually isn't, and the scope of work's less, and they're hitting us with change orders. And then when it comes time to fix stuff or whatever, because there's always issues, right? Like there's always something. Because I think I have a pretty good eye, so I'll go pick apart things because I have an expectation for stuff, and they don't want to come back and fix it. So then I've got to find somebody else to come back and fix it. So who's responsible for that? We have a septic field from 6 years ago that failed. Client wanted to use their friend for it, and their relationship soured. He doesn't want to fix it. So, that's going to cost, and it's outside of warranty. I shouldn't have to fix it, really. It served its purpose. There's some other things that went there, but, during the investigation that we did going through this thing, he didn't put it in the right ground. Like he came and did it on the weekend, right? And, that's going to cost me money to fix, because I also don't feel like that should be the client issue, but I also don't feel like that should be my issue, because they want to use their friend to do the work, and somebody just down the street, and he missed putting the septic lines in the layer by probably a foot where they had to, what he identified as the proper soils.
Shit.
Yeah. So, like that septic field back then was, I can't remember the number, but it's probably about 6 times the cost to fix that field than what it cost to install the whole system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
ye be warned.
Be warned. Yeah. So those deals aren't always the best thing. And, there's different levels of trade people as well, and business owners as well, what they want to serve or offer, and their skill levels, right? So again, it's like I say, there's a client for every builder, a builder for every client. There's a trade for every project as well. And some of them have a niche that they work in. They're just not going to do the 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, $30 million projects because they don't want to. They just want to do service or smaller stuff and have that cash flow coming in all the time, right? So
it's the focus that they've decided on too, right?
Yeah.
And I think focus is so important in your business, not trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah, and that was probably my biggest issue when I first started, was I wanted to do everything. My first motto, I guess, is I wanted to paint the town Lux blue, right? I wanted to do everything. Multifamily, home building, renovation, service work. And then I quickly realized I don't have the time, the skill to do all that. So I found my niche and kind of went after that. I found what I enjoyed doing the most, right? So,
but every entrepreneur has to learn that, right,
Yep.
for themselves. Because I think in the early days, your first home build, you're probably just anyone that's willing to take a bet on you. Yeah, sure, you need me to do X, Y, Z, no problem. I can figure that out.
Yeah.
And so, but as you get maturity in your business, you can sort of see where you do well and where you win.
Yeah, I think maturity is the key word there. It's like growing up, right? So, and you become comfortable in your own skin and identifying your ideal client who you work well with, right?
The power of no.
Yeah. 100%. You have to say no, right? And it's just like clients say no to us all the time, and we'll say no to clients too if we don't fit what their projects are, right? So we'll still give them some advice or whatever, or say I know this person or whatever. Like that's the value of, or one of the things that I can give out to people is if we don't fit for that project. Like 2 weeks ago, we got 2 leads that came in and they don't fit my wheelhouse at all. And I know 2 other builders I just referred them to. I said, hey, one of the guys is starting out. He'd be more than happy to probably take this on. I've seen his work in the past for when he was a sub trade. And, I've talked to him a lot to know that he understands the process and I could help him if he had an issue. And another guy, he's had a business for a long time. And this is right up his wheelhouse, right? So it just wasn't a project for us, right? So,
but you're still finding a solution.
Yeah, trying to help people. They took the time to call us or reach out to us. So I'll still try to help out the best I can, right? So
getting back to this, the trades piece, because you've got roots here in Kelowna. You get to know people over time, and you get to know who the good and the bad are in terms of the different players that are in your space. How does that sort of scale though? Because I think even for us, we're an operator here in Kelowna, and that's where most of our business is. But now we're starting to think, okay, well, maybe there's some other pastures that we want to go check out. You're doing the same. You've got a project in Osoyoos right now, which is, it's a stint. You've got Christina Lake, but you've also got some projects that you're working on up in Edmonton. How does that sort of look for you now that those relationships are kind of strained by the distance of the project?
So it's finding and vetting people, asking the hardware store who's good, who's not good, getting out, meeting people, really, right? Edmonton's a little bit different because I have a managing partner out there, Vince. He takes care of that. So he's got a network already kind of built for that.
Established, right? So it's finding local knowledge and people that have that know-how already.
Yeah, but even the same thing with me is like, I got people that reach out to me all the time, and I talk to other builders. Like I've got no issue talking to another builder or renovator at all about anything, like the way I run my business. And then in that conversation, I'm hoping it's the same thing, right? Like 2 weeks ago, I went to Calgary to see my buddy Daniel there from Deer Creek Custom Homes, and he had a dinner. So I met this guy named Byron Brooks there. And, we were just sitting kind of talking about stuff, and he follows me on Instagram. I follow him. I got a great connection from him, and he helped me out. So that's kind of where it kind of rolls with the same thing, right? Like it's a big world, big community of builders. Then you find the people that align with your values. And those are the people that I find we always kind of help each other out. And you want these guys to be successful in whatever they kind of do too, right? So trades have a bad name, right? And I don't want to have a bad name, and I want to fix that name in the industry. That's kind of what my goal is for the industry, is to kind of fix it and show people we can do something differently, right? Like when you brought up cost plus versus fixed price, I'm not bashing the cost plus world. There's guys that do it honestly and properly, but there's also companies that I know for a fact that don't, who have multiple sub companies that they're marking up to get to their margins that they need to run it. So you got to be very careful on things like that. And then there's also guys who just say, this is what my fee is, and this is how I run it. And that's, you pay for what you want to pay for, right? So there's something that fits for everybody out there, right? And I just find that, back to your question about finding good trades is communication, talking to people. You need to know people, right? I learned that from my dad. He talked to everybody all the time. So I kind of do the same thing, right? So,
and I guess you're not necessarily competing in that space too, but I think there is value in being able to speak to people that are going through the same stuff, and you call it co-opetition, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not even builders. Like, it's all these other businesses that I talk to as well, right? Like, we both know John, right? So we talk to John. He might have a connection, or even Billy or yourself or somebody like, oh, you should check out this guy. So, you start watching them from afar too, right? So, and kind of see what's going on, right? And even when you're driving through town, you see different trucks cruising around. You're like, okay, well, should I ever talk to this guy? Maybe they're working on some cool projects. Maybe if I ever get a project like that, that might be the guy that does it, right? So then as you kind of expand your network and people you hang out with, and, I try to be one of the dumbest guys in the room at some of these things I go to with these high level people, and they start taking you on your wing, learning from them. They introduce you to their network as well. And you start having conversations with all these other people about how they run their business and how they do stuff. So you learn a lot that way as well, right? So, and then you get connections to suppliers who say, well, this is our best electrician, or this is our best plumber or drywaller in your area. You should talk to them if you ever get a project that meets their wheelhouse as well too, right? So I'm not looking for a new electrician, drywaller, or plumber, by the way.
Just for the record.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Switching gears a little bit, you've been in this game for a little while now. You've gone through, the try to do it everything yourself, that every business owner goes through, right? And then you've reached this maturity now. What does a day look like for Brad McNaughton today?
A lot of meetings, a lot of planning. I've got different ventures that I kind of want to get into as well. So I'm kind of thinking about those and just kind of planning that stuff. Still working on, I've got one of my biggest issues. I'm never fully happy. So I'm always looking at
going back to our earlier conversation.
Yeah.
questing, never resting.
Yeah. So I'm always looking at ways to kind of improve stuff, right? So you fix something and then you're like, okay, well, now what can I do better? When can we start implementing it? But I think a big thing is kind of that planning aspect of my business, where I kind of want to go to and how I can get there, right? And how can I make my business more efficient and support everybody within it, right? So
is that exhausting?
Not really. I mean, it can be some days, right? But for the most part, I enjoy it. But it also gives me time to do other things that I want to do as well, like coach my kids' sports. They're at the age where I've got to leave early in the day to get them to practice or whatever. And I've really enjoyed coaching. It's kind of mellowed me out a bit. I don't know if my boy would like it because I'm hard on him, but we live in a different era than when I grew up too, right? Like, houses are closer together, more townhomes and apartments kids are living in. Where I grew up on a farm where you worked and you ran around, so you got that work ethic. Then I'm getting big into, like, I really enjoy my time. I got asked to help out a Special Olympics Kelowna there, and I really enjoyed that. And I help coach the golf, even though I'm no good at it. But again, I learned a lot from those athletes too. And, I sit on the committee as well. And then I got to help plan the Kelowna Classics. You see all the work that goes into some of these volunteer things. And I really do enjoy that aspect of giving back to the community as well, right? Through whether it's coaching my kids or some of these other volunteer positions, because they're all volunteers, right? So, like even when I was at the Rockets Memorial Cup there, it was nice how I didn't volunteer for anything like that, but they were honoring the volunteers on the screen too, right? So it's nice to see people get that recognition as well, because now that I know how much work goes into putting on some of those things, it's actually amazing that people are able to volunteer that much time for it.
It's nice to hear things that fill your cup. It's I'm a little younger. It's 30. I'm 34, and
you don't look a day over 46.
I've got some grey streaks through.
I've got those too.
Yeah. But fairly recent new dad.
Yeah.
We've got George turning 2 in July as well. And I'm still in the trenches. And it's taxing and it's hard to get that time back. I think you had the same experience too, when your boy was young.
Yeah, I think mine's a little bit different than yours. We can
Mhm.
dive into that if you want after your story.
Well, no, I think my comment is it's tough to get that balance right. You want to be everywhere at once, and I think that's something that I think has gotten better. I think as a business has gotten maturity, I think it's gotten better.
Yeah.
But it's something you've got to work at.
I think it's scheduling the time personally now. Like I'm an early riser. So my wife takes care of getting the kids ready for school. I don't want to be there for it anyways. Like I don't want to deal with it. I just want to know that my boy shot his pucks in the morning and then the boss Mackenzie's she's doing her thing, right?
But have preferences. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I find I can get more work done before people show up to the office for what I want to do.
Big time.
And then I can kind of, socialize with my employees a bit as well throughout the day. But when I first started my business, that's when my boy Jackson was born in 2017. And I missed a lot of it because I was working. I'd leave early, go to sites, work, come home, do stuff until 10, 11 o'clock at night, then be out the door at 5, 4:35 in the morning. And so I missed a lot of those early years with him, and it'd be 6, 7 days a week. Whereas when my daughter came around, it was a little bit different. I was able to take some time off when she was born and kind of like get to see that stage of the life as well versus, not. But yeah, no, it's still something that, should probably be around a bit more. But, like as I'm doing stuff like I go to networking things or, meetings and stuff. And I still invest a lot of time back in my business and training and going to different events and stuff to learn from people, big business people to try and grow as well. And I think my family kind of understands that as well, right? Like I do have an end goal. Like I want to build something that's successful and sustainable, that if my kids want to work for it, I'm not just going to hand it to them. That's kind of what my future succession plan is, right? So, my boy's, he just turned 9. So in 10 years, if he wants it, he's going to have to figure out what he wants. So maybe in 4 or 5 years, we'll sit down and talk about what his goals are, about what he wants to do, right? Does he want to be a firefighter or I don't know what else.
Apparently there's a shortage.
Apparently there's a shortage of everything, right? But nobody wants to work. But, kind of figure out that. And then if he doesn't want to do it, my daughter's, she's just turned 5. She wants to be the boss. She said she's kicked me out of my chair.
She's already the boss. Yeah.
She is the boss, right? So she'll come into the office and ask Delaney to color with her. She's like, "You're coloring with me now." And it's like, whoa, there. Coloring doesn't make us money here, right? So, or get jobs done. But yeah, I think that's, 2 different kids, 2 different stages of my business, right? I think if I did have another one now, it'd be even different, right? So there's no more kids on the way, but 2's enough. Mackenzie is what I call birth control. So,
What do you think the fundamental shift was between the first and the second? What had to change in your business or your approach to your business?
Planning
to make space.
Planning, understanding your numbers, and not thinking that I'm going to pay a project manager X amount of dollars and I'm not making that money. Right? Like I didn't need to have a massive salary. There's a quality of life as well that you kind of need to be able to do stuff too, right? So goes back to that vacation that I took and was like, do I get on a plane and come back and leave my family in Mexico to finish off the vacation? Right? So it's just kind of those types of things. It's like I always tell my employees, I want them to have a good work-life balance too, right? I don't check clocks and things like that. Like you kind of get your things done. They're done. I trust you to do your work. I know sometimes they go on vacation and they take their computers with them to keep on top of it. So it like kind of works around. And I didn't really have that work-life balance at the time, right? So, but I also like to be busy, right? Like you sit back, do I have time to always coach and go to these tournaments or volunteer for things? And it's like, no, I probably don't, but I do enjoy it and I'm learning from it. And also hopefully teaching my kids that work ethic as well. And to also give back to the community as well for stuff, right? Might be a little bit too young to understand some of that stuff right now, but hopefully later on they can kind of see that, right? So you always want to do better for your kids than what you kind of grew up with. And I still feel very fortunate to this day that I grew up on a farm. So.
And just on that note, you've got a lot of people trying to enter the workforce, young people. Actually, well, how is that? We'll start there. How has it been finding labor in the trades?
Trades has been... Well, I mean, trades are always out there because, like, I think I'll probably be wrong on this stat or what I'm about to say, but from what I've been told, is the Okanagan or Kelowna has the most entrepreneurs per capita in Canada. It seems like everybody's either an entrepreneur, whether they're a realtor or a home builder. It seems like everybody's a realtor, home builder, designer that works here. But so finding direct workers used to be tough. Now we've got a steady stream of resumes coming in. But you also got to be careful with them coming in, looking at what their past history was too. Because if they owned a business, they're just slow right now. So then they're going to get a phone call tomorrow and they're going to leave, right?
Zip off.
So, like, and I don't want that, right? So, and it's tough because I want a certain type of person. Like our clients expect a certain person to show up to site. Like there's nothing wrong with having an older vehicle, but you don't want to have an older vehicle that's leaking oil on somebody's driveway or out front of their house, or a guy coming scruffy, chain smoking out there either, right? Like there's a perception to what we're building, and that's what
they sound like real examples.
Yeah. Well, as you kind of grow through the thing, through your stages of your business, you kind of realize these things, right? So again, it's just finding your niche and what your business is going to be. And the people you want to serve. There's people for everybody, right? And everybody's got to make a living.
You said you've got a steady flow of resumes coming through the door, though.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a process to.
We don't have ads out right now either.
Interesting. What do you put that down to?
Probably our growing social media presence and stuff like that. I think people see what we do, and we get a lot of comments where people kind of want to work on it or follow us, and they just put their name in the hat. Like I've got a guy from Vancouver Island who wants to move up here in the fall, and he wants to work for us because he likes our values and stuff like that. So, he's come up here. I've interviewed him a few times. We've same type of process, right? And so I think it's just stuff like that, right? As you grow, people want to be part of it too, right? Like when I was smaller, people were like, are you going to be here next month? Are you going to be here in 2 months? Like, do I have to worry about my job? So just kind of things like that.
So it almost serves two purposes, right? So you try and obviously get your message about some of the projects that you've been working on, attract more projects like it, but also it serves that sort of employer of choice audience as well, of people that are, doing their doom scrolling and they land on a Lux Homes a video.
Yeah.
And some of the projects you're working on. So you're almost serving two audiences when you're putting out some.
I think I'm serving multiple audiences when I put stuff out, right? Like you're educating people who want to build, even if they're not going to build with us in different areas, or we don't build what they want, but you're educating them on different things to kind of look out for. You're educating potential other contractors on different ways of doing things as well. You're just kind of growing your following as well for people, right? Becoming that influencer or whatever that people trust. And then, the workforce people, you're getting people that you're creating a pipeline of potential employees as well who want to work with you and help you grow your business to be even more successful throughout that whole thing. So that those messages, they do spread out to a lot of different people as well, right? So,
and hats off to you. I mean, Lux has done a terrific job of getting that formula right, and I'm kind of curious too because I was like, how does Brad afford all of this stuff, right? So I've got a couple of Yeti Lux Homes branded let's call it stainless steel ware that sits in my kitchen cupboard at the back.
Can I get those back?
Sure, no problem. They do get used occasionally. But how do you look at spend on marketing?
So like any business owner, you got to forecast your business, where you're at. And I allocate a percentage of my revenue to ad spend and to marketing. And, my marketing people, they get that budget for the year and they kind of know this is where we can kind of spend and kind of go from there. And then we test new things out and kind of go from there. That's kind of how I look at it, right? So you kind of need to spend money to grow. So that's kind of how I look at it, right? So, I worked with those numbers from my business coaches over the years, and this is kind of the number that kind of works with us right now. We try to stick to that 1 to 2% of revenue type spend. And if you know that it's there, it's there. But that also takes care of, certain things that'll come out of that too. Like if a client calls me and they've been in their house for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and issues arose that's outside of home warranty, I'll take money out of my ad spend to go fix that because I want them to be happy and not say, oh, I've got a brand new house, even though it's not brand new. About it. But it's taking care of the client still down the road for their house, right? Like I don't want a client to not call me when they have an issue because I'm not going to fix it. There are certain things that, if they drove a truck through the house or whatever, like I'm not, I'll come fix it, but you're going to have to pay for it, right? But just kind of things like that. So there's a lot of things that marketing budget still kind of touches as well, right? Then out of that too, our clients will get, their nice books at the end, like they'll get construction books showing different phases of their project.
And photographs.
And then they'll get a finalized photograph book of their home when it was completed as well, right? So they can kind of look back on that stuff. And we don't just pride ourselves in nice photos after, but the actual construction process too. Because maybe they didn't see some, but we have nothing to hide. When it's the excavation, the foundation, anything that's buried behind the walls, so that kind of comes out of there as well, right? So
and I think there is a real market for that sort of white glove approach that clients really appreciate.
I think so. And then like, they want to know that you're out there doing stuff too, right? So how else are you going to find you and get to know you ahead of time, right? Like that's what I mean. It's a personal brand that you're building within the business as well, right? And getting my employees, the key people, also on camera as well, right? Like one of my favorite videos we did on Instagram was talking about Riley's mustache, right? Like getting across his humor and stuff too, because those are people that are going to be out there doing the work for your project as well, and they're not just robots doing the work, right? They're actual human beings, and they have good attitudes, and you can create relationships with them as well, and go talk to them and kind of go that way as well, right? So
is your advice spend the money?
100%. Like if you're not going to grow, and you're not going to get out there, and that's part of running a business. Like, it goes back to when I ask people what they charge, and if they say $80 an hour, I'm like, why? What do you spend? What do you spend on marketing? Right? Kind of things like that, right? So it's all the things, like you look at the huge companies, they have massive marketing budgets, right? And they're marketing for a reason, right? So helps us find our right clients as well.
You touched on a really interesting point, because I think even in our own business, there's sort of mindset as well that kind of comes in the janitorial business. And we have a lot of clients that sort of look at us and go, well, how long will it take? How many hours am I getting when we're talking about they're clean, right? So when you're trying to, when you got that type of question or sort of way of thinking about things, it's really hard to kind of break that sort of, and it's really prevalent in our business where our value is based on our time that we commit. So we have some outstanding cleaners that are paid superbly and they do awesome work, but we've trained them. They also have tons of experience and they're able to deliver the work in maybe a shorter time window. But the amount of phone calls I get of, I was looking at the alarm report and it looks like Sally dipped out 30 minutes earlier. Are we going to get a credit for that? So there's this kind of mindset that needs to shift and break around value, right? I
think you can do that through social media as well. Like I don't hire entry-level people where we have a training program and they become efficient at their job. Like what do you want them to do? Sit there when they're done their scope of work or whatever, right? I think that's where I think you also run into the risk when you're just doing stuff hourly cost, plus people are going to slow down and not get stuff done.
That's right.
Right? So if you got highly skilled tradespeople or cleaners or whatever it is, there's a value to that, right? And and rate clients are going to pay for that. If they just want somebody there hourly, no problem. I'll charge you hourly, and the guy will sit there from 7 till 3:30, get his 8-hour day, and but your place might not be clean or finished because they're just kind of dragging things out, right? So if you hire the right people or the right business, they have the right people, and they can get it done earlier, so be it, right? And over time, technically, your overhead will probably go down because that person's more efficient. And they can get more done for you in a day. So eventually that client will recoup that money, right? Totally. So, if I hire a guy on a 2-year project and he's green, by the end of that 2 year, he's more efficient and he can get more done in a day than he did on day one, right? So as we go throughout the project of pricing, stuff like that, we realize that this guy's gonna be better so he can produce more. So that number kind of goes down as well, right? So
yeah, I think people get very hung up on that topic and then on that issue. As
100% they do.
The outcome.
Yeah. So like that's why through our pre-construction process for us, it's like, here's what we're delivering, here's what the end's going to look like, and this is what it's going to cost to do it, right? So that both people don't feel like they're getting ripped off on something. We're going to still get to that end thing, and I'm just going to drag it out to keep making more money, right? So
too right.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground. What is the big, hairy, audacious goal for Lux? What does Lux look like 5 years from now? Just to end on that.
Oh, I'd love to be doing, 4 projects worth over $10 million a year. That's kind of my goal. I want to be the go-to guy for executive homes, sprawling homes up in East Kelowna or wherever. Projects on the lake, like complex stuff. That's what I want to get into, stuff that really challenges us and gets us thinking, and stuff that's going to be generational for people to live in and have their kids live in it too, right? Where everything's kind of thought out. That's kind of what my goal is for 5 years from now. Yeah.
Outstanding. Cool. Well, thank you very much for jumping on with me.
No problem.
Appreciate the time.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Could be the first one next time, eh? All right.
You could make this 3. We want to do number 1 again. Hey, or at the beginning.
We'll switch the order.
This is 1A, 1A.
Yeah.
This is you could call it the pilot one.
Pilot. Yeah. Yes. Perfect. Yeah. All right. Very good.
That was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.